Hi, welcome to 405 videos. This is DC here. This is the new video series on ATMEL AT88SC153 secure memory card. In this video series, you're going to learn how to use this secure memory card. You're going to learn its memory structure and various commands. These are some of the highlights of this card. So this card has got 3 user zones and each zone has got 64 bytes. Because this has got multiple user zone, this card can be used in a multi-application software. This has got one configuration zone, which is again 64 bytes, which you can use to configure how this card should operate. This supports 4 passwords, 2 for read operations and 2 for write passwords, and you can use a combination of this password and you can assign this password to various user zone. So each of these password also has got the attempt counter, which allows you to have 4 wrong passwords. After that, the cards get automatically locked. So this supports the authentication as well, where the host and the card, they can authenticate each other before the card can be used for read and write operation. So if you have seen my previous videos on AT88SC153, so where we have to use a separate command to erase the memory, where you can change the bit from 0 to 1. So these type of erase commands are not present in this SC153 cards. So if this is the first time you are using ATMEL secure memory cards, I would advise you to see my videos on AT88SC153. So you need a reader writer that can work with the SC153. So there are 3 readers I have seen, but I'll be using only ACR38U and ACR1281U, and both these cards are from the company called ACS. There is one more reader called OmniKey 3121, so which also supports SC153 card using a synchronous API. So I will not be covering this reader writer. So as we did in all my previous videos, you have to grab a data sheet of this secure memory card, and you also have to have the API documentation of the reader you are using. Then you need a software to send the API to you. Now I'll be using the learning software I have used in all my previous videos. So with that, with all these things, we are ready to say and understand SC153 secure memory card. So this is the data sheet of AT88SC153 secure memory card. You can download this from the manufacturer site, or you can get it from the seller website. And these are the API documentation of ACR38U. We have seen this document in my previous videos on SC102 secure memory card. So this document you have to understand, and if you already seen my video on SC102, most of the things now will be easier for you now. The most important thing for software developer is the section where that says the memory mapping. Now if you can look at here, it has got 4 zones: the user zone 0, the user 1, user 2. These 3 zones are meant to store the application data. So you can use this card for a 3 application software, and this is the 64 byte configuration zone. So there's nothing you have to learn about user zones, because this is just a standard EEPROM space you can read and write. However, the configuration zone looks pretty complex initially, but however, I'm going to make it simple by going through each of these sections in detail in my later videos. So this configuration zone has got 4 subzones. I'm not going to go through this in detail in this video. It has got the fabrication zone, identification zone, the secret zone, and the password zone. So in order to understand this secure memory card, you have to understand what each of these sections do and how they operate, and how to read and write. You have to learn all these things, which I'm going to show you in my video series. I also mentioned about the authentication. So if you have done any reading on the contactless cards, you might have aware of the 3DS authentication or AES authentication. So the concept is very similar to that, where the host here is a reader writer and the card, so they exchange information so that they know both have the same the secure code. So this is what new in this 153 compared to SC102. So with this background, I'm going to show you how to just going to in this video I'm just going to show all these sections, how this has been laid out in the learning software. So back in this API documentation of AT88U, there's a separate section that explains how to read or how to work with the AT88SC153 memory card. So I'm just going to go through this quickly, and in my later videos we are going to discuss these commands in detail. There is a command to select the card type, that's this APDU structure, and there's a command to read the memory card. So this also the structure is given here. Now there's a small difference between the reading the memory card when you compare this with the standard ISO 7816 commands. The INS, the instruction byte, so changes based on which zone you want to read. It is a B0 for if you want to read the zone 0, B1 for zone 1, B2 for zone 2, and B3 for reading the zone, the configuration zone, and B4 if you want to read the fuse. Now if you compare this with the SC102, there was no command to read the status of the fuses, whereas here you can read the status of the fuse. Now this is the read memory card command. So likewise you got the write memory card command here. So you can, using this command, you can write to the various zones including the fuse. This command is used to verify the password, and again we know there are 4 passwords, so you can use this is 2 bits here to tell which password you're trying to verify. There is no command to write the password. Write the password is same as writing to any memory. And these 2 commands are for authentication. This is the initialize authentication, and next is the verify authentication. So these are the only commands available to work with SC153 secure memory card. Now if you want to do something, and if there is no command to do that, so that is the limitation of this reader and the documentation. So far I've not come across any limitations with the AT88U. So with this background, I'm going to show you a sample. I got a brand new AT88SC153 card. I'm just going to show you now the various sections. You can see I've connected my AT88U reader writer, and I've got a brand new secure memory card. So this feature is available in version 1.90. Now when you connect, the screen is automatically open because of the ATR, and the first thing you do is select. We're just following what the AT88U documentation tells us to do. First you have to select the card. If you look at these commands, okay, and this is exactly what the documentation says. Next I'm going to read entire tag. If you hit that, so all these 256 bytes are read, and here the way the reading is done is, so it's done in 4 steps. So first I'm reading the 64 bytes of zone 0, and you can see this is the command structure where I've used B0, and next is the zone 1 where the command is B1, and the starting address here is always 00. So we are reading from address 00, 64 bytes. So likewise you got read zone 2 with the instruction B2, and read zone 4 or zone configuration zone, which is again B3, and also a separate command to read the fuse where it is B4, and you got only 1 byte. If you see, the command says you're expecting only 1 byte here, so you got a byte. Now the screen is laid out, which is something different from the SC102 screen. So this time we are not showing you the grid full of bytes here. So the user zone, so you can see this is 64 bytes. The default value is all set to FFs. The zone 1, the zone 2, and the fabrication zone. What you see here is exactly what the documentation says. If you go to documentation, so these are various subsections of the fabrication zone. You got answer to reset, this is ATR, this is the fabrication code, CMC, this is a manufacturer, card manufacturer code, AR0, AR1, AR2, MTZ, and so on and so forth. So the first 16 bytes here corresponds to fabrication. That's exactly what you see here, but in a very in a meaningful way. Now this is all this answer to reset, and LOT, the fab code, CMC, MTZ, they're all over here. And the only thing which is not in documentation is the fuse. Now I'm showing the fuse, all the 3 fuses here. Now this card has got 3 fuses. One is the fabrication fuse, which is already blown. So a 0 here, a untick here means 0, 0 means blown, and a tick means 1. Now there are 3 fuses in this secure memory card, and it's very important for us to understand these 3 fuses. So here the fabrication zone is already been, the fabrication fuse is already been blown, and we're going to see in my later videos how this fuse blown is going to affect. Basically everything relates back to what you can change and what you can read or not read. So after that, this is the card manufacturer fuse. Once the card manufacturer, it's something like this. If you think about the chip manufacturer, so he makes a small piece of semiconductor and he blows the fabrication fuse, then this is given to the people who makes the card. Now you got a PVC, and you got all these contacts here, and this PVC uses this chip. So the card manufacturer, once it's all manufactured and initialized, they're going to blow this the card manufacturer fuse, and these are the end users. Now after the card is personalized, before we give this to the end user, so we're going to set some values, and we are going to blow the personalization fuse. So there are 3 fuses, and this is also called as the life cycle of the card. So right from the chip goes inside the PVC card, so it gets personalized for every user, and all the 3, by the time it's given to a user, all the 3 fuses will be blown. So what I've done here is every section has got its own read and write button. So you can read individually every section. Say for example, if I hit read here, so you can see read AR0. So this tells you what should be the address, and it's the same read command we have used to read the various zones, and all these subsections or all this piece of data is available in the fabrication zone, which the read instruction byte is B3. So the only difference here is the address, the starting address of AR0 is 0C or 12, and this refers back to the documentation. If you say to read this byte, So anything you want to read in this zone, you have to start from the address 0, and this is the address 12. From address 12, and this address 13, address 14, address 15. So if you want to read, say for example, the ACC byte, which is called as an authentication attempts counter, you have to specify, say this will be 32 as the offset within this zone, or the byte number 33, because the address starts from value 0, this will have address of 32. So likewise, so this is too early to play with the write. So if you already playing with this version of the software, please do not try the write at this stage. So next is the identification. Again, all this piece of data, it's exactly what the documentation says. You got the issuer code, you got the DCR, you got how the DCR is encoded here. So this corresponds to the 8 bits. We're going to discuss this in detail. The identification number, and now this is the counter for attempts counter, and this is a cryptogram. This is used for authentication protocol. And again, each section has got its own read and write, and the secret section has got only the secret byte here, and the password section. What you have to notice here is when you read the entire memory of the new card, these are the default values, and the default value of the ATR is also written here. So the software, this particular software, is using these 4 bytes to determine it is a SC153 secure memory card. And later in the later part of the videos, I'm going to show you how to modify this. It's not just you just go jump in here and tick and untick some bits and write. So it's not the way. You have to understand every bit and how this refers to the functionality of this card. If you look at a couple of sections like the secret code here, so look at the password code. Okay, so there are 4 passwords. 2 passwords are for reading and 2 for writing. So you can assign any of these read passwords to these user zones. So I can have a user zone 0 assigned to read 1 password, or I can have user zone 2 which is assigned to read 0 password. Likewise, you can decide which password is used for read and write operations. So you have got 4 combinations here. But looking at this screen, so the first thing that comes to mind is is this the default password? Now I am not sure why I get 06 when I try to read the value of this passwords. Now I'm sure this is not the correct password. Now when you buy the new card from the manufacturer, you will get the default password for the card, which is not 06006. So you just have to keep in mind you cannot read the value of this password. So in this video, at least, you should know that there are 4 passwords. You got the secret key, the secret seed, and you got all these things. Okay, so what we also got here is if you click the bin, you can see the data in the binary mode. So in some applications, now it will be helpful to see the data in the binary mode. Now I'm going to show you a little bit of writing as well. We have seen so many reads. So just like in AT88SC153 card, writing is possible only after the password authentication. However, I noticed something different in this 153 card. So there is a section called the MTZ. This is like a playground. You can modify anytime. There was a MTZ in 102 secure memory also, but that was I think it was 4 bytes, but here got only 1 byte. So I can change this Say I'm going to set this to A0 and say write operation. And if you look at the command here, so this is the command. The D3 is we are writing the zone 4, that's a configuration zone, and 05, this is 0F, this is the address. MTZ is address 15. If you look at the documentation, this is the one. So in this fabrication zone, the 0th address is here, and the 63 address is here. Now this is the offset 15. Now that's what I've used here, and this is this is the number of bytes that are present as the data, that's A0. Now most of the time you'll always get a success response from the card. So even though you try to write to a protected memory, we have seen these type of things in my previous videos, but if you try to read, if the read also says A0, so that means the write is successful. So this is how you write. So MTZ you can write without any password. What about if you go and change the value of, I want to show something else here as well. Go to fabrication here. I can change this to FF again, write and read. So this if you look at the way the writing was done in 102, so here I'm able to change the value from 0 to 1 with the simple write operations, whereas in 102 you have to first erase it, then only you can change it to the value you want. So that erase concept is not in SC153. Go to user zone 0. I'm going to modify and set this as A0, A1. Probably modify a few bytes at the end as well, A0, A1. If you write, now looks like write is successful. If you try to read, now read is also successful. You can see that in a brand new card, probably now you can write to user zone. Now you don't need any password authentication. Maybe that's how the card has been manufactured. And so I think that's all in this video. In the next coming videos, I'm going to go through every section in detail, and you're going to see that you understand every bit of this card. Thank you.